Okay, so hello everyone. So welcome to week 3. Again, I would like to appreciate your time and your cooperation by far with on the online studying. I know it's been tough not only for us as a tutor, but also for you to adapt to our new way of learning and studying as well. So what I would recommend before we go into the details of our tutorial is please regularly check your emails, your Canvas notifications on regular basis, because those will be our only communication channels. And the way we're gonna conduct the tutorial between the tutors of this unit also vary. So within my method, that will be via Skype. So can you please begin to add me on Skype and find my Skype ID, which I have attached to the previous email, and add me, and please follow the format as I've instructed in the previous email as well. So that will significantly help me to group each of you guys into a group of 4 to 5. And then again, you will be assigned to a group and a certain time within your tutorial times that will last for 15 to 20 minutes. So during that time, what you will need to do is to talk about your work, to talk about your issues via the video group chat. And after you have shown all of those, any more questions, just email me, and there is a deadline for doing so. And any emails after the deadline either will be discarded or to be replied in the following weeks. I know it will be tough for you again to understand everything, but when you join in a group chat, it will be much more easier for me to explain everything. So bear with me on that part, and please start to add on the Skype so I can proceed to our group chat and as well assign you into the time slot and your group members. So if you could do it, please doing so. Thank you. So in week 3, what we're gonna looking at is further information and details in terms of the basic convention of our floor plan section and elevations. So that including the line thicknesses. So as I have briefly covered from last week, that is line thickness have to be, you have to demonstrate line thicknesses after you've done hatching with your drawing. So I will go about that in the later demonstrations. But basically, line thickness help us to highlight the information that we need to convey. So there are 3 categories, including a thin line, a thick line, and a medium line. So a thin lines are using for grid lines, center line, dimension lines, leaders, furniture fixture, and hatchings. So if you're doing construction studio, for sure you are looking at the grid line, center line, dimension lines, and leader lines. In this unit, the interior architecture communication and architectural communications, you don't need to do these 4 lines, the grid line, center line, dimension line, and leader lines, because again, our drawings are submitted to the client and not for the builders. So we're only looking at the thin line, including the furniture and the hatching. Hatching, again, I have briefly covered from last week, but I will discuss about that in later stage. With the thick line, that will be mainly for the cutting through the walls, and medium line are for the rest. Okay, so the hierarchy of the thicknesses of on this line again are to ensure the readings of your documentations and all the information that you have presented in your drawings gonna be completely understood either by your client or your builders. Okay, so a few sample of thin and thick line, as I have instructed you before to grab the fine liners. Okay, so as I've instructed to grab 0.1, 0.3, and 0.5 So 0.1 is for the thin line, 0.3 are for the medium lines, and 0.5 will be for the thick line. However, what I would recommend at this stage is only to grab 0.1 and 0.3. I don't have 0.3, so I will use 0.4 for the time being. And for the thin line, you can either use a very dark pencil, and you don't have to use the fine liner. So again, you need to trace, to hand trace, okay, not digitally trace your floor plan. So this is a floor plan that has been up to scale. You have to trace it using the tracing paper and pencil first. Don't do fine liner, because if you make a mistake, it's really hard for you to erase everything. So it is best to use it with pencil first and then over trace it using the fine liner later, okay? So yeah, okay. So here are some of the details. Again, the file that I'm using right here, you can download it from Canvas. That's the week 3 modules. So these are some of the drawings that you will need to demonstrate the volumes of the line thicknesses. This is a detailed drawings. So it demonstrates how does each structural parts within the buildings are assembling together to make a structure or foundations, a wall, a joinery, or something like that. And to the left of mine is the floor plans. So again, with the floor plans, you are looking at an intensive use of medium and thin line, because if there are too much of thick line, that will overflow on the information as demonstrated in here. However, in the detail sections, as you can imagine, it required a fair bit of information at different levels. And therefore, for example, this is a block, sort of like a foundation block to prevent all the moisture and the water going into your foundations. And as well as you can see here, those are the hatching, these wiggling lines, the marbles, the timbers and things like that. And also the boundaries of cutting through on these objects. So these have a fair amount of different line thicknesses, but if we can examine it, thin line in this case will be for the hatching, indicating the materials. So you don't want them to fight over the overall lines, indicating the shape of the objects. That will be used with thick line. And with the medium line, perhaps it can be used in terms of the dashed line over here, indicating the membranes. Okay. Going back to the floor plans in here, we might not need to use the thick line, because again, the line will be fairly bold, and therefore we will mostly concentrate using the thin and medium line. So the wall that cutting through, as you can see, it cutting through on the walls to review the floor plans, right? So the shape of the wall, perhaps we can use it as a medium line, and on the details, including the glazing frames, the door swing, and the hatching, it can be used as a thin lines. So the requirement of this unit is how would you go about with all the information have instructed you and make the right decisions along the way. At this critical times, I know that it's tough for you because you will have multiple questions. You have a lot of questions in your mind, and I will not be online the whole day and waiting for your answer, as well as you have to do other stuff as well, not only of my unit, but also you have to attend other units as well. So what I would do, what I would suggest you to do is to do it and don't be afraid of making mistake. And after you have done something, make sure that either take a photo of it or record it just like me. So it will help me to have a better understanding of what are your issues, what are the stage you are currently on. And I know that from time to time, there are a lot of terminology for you to study as well, to memorize as well. So it would be best for you to photograph, video it, so you don't have to type out the whole essays. All right. Now we're going into somewhat a similar floor plans in here of our Tezuka house. Okay, so then we can further analyze it before we're going to analyze the light thicknesses on the Tezuka house. So as you can see here on the floor plan, we have numerous information that we have to convey, including the furnitures, the wall thicknesses, the annotations, the hatching, several hatching, also the symbols, including to indicating the folding doors, the glazings, the break lines, also with the section lines as well, the section mark right here. So each of those have to use different light thicknesses. Okay, so if you're looking at the PDF files of our week 3 contents, you will see here indicating which will be used for which light thicknesses. But to go briefly, furnitures, because we're not cutting through it, as I've explained before, we're just looking down. And with that, we will use a thin line. So a thin line, you can either use a very sharp pencil or 0.05 or 0.1. And then next things that you are cutting through is the wall. Okay, so with the wall, it has to be a little bit darker because it will have a bigger thicknesses, and therefore 0.2 or 0.3 fine liner. After you trace everything on pencil, then trace again with the fine liner on top of that elements that require to bone up. Okay, so you start up with a very thin foundations using pencil only, no fine liners. After you have done everything, then you begin to use fine liner. Okay, with the symbols, including the doors, span, the bifolding doors, and in particular the hatching of the toilet tiles. As you can see here, there are a lot of graphics happening at the moment. So with those symbols, we only need to let the reader know that, you know, these are very basic and these are the openings to the other areas, and they are not significant in terms of design just yet on the floor plans. So with that, you can use a thin line furniture, medium, and with the wall, that will be a thick one. So with the symbol as well, we don't want to overflow. Of course, this is important to understand where the section will be. However, the symbols has to be minimalized with the use of the light thickness, so people don't focus on the section mark just yet, but they have to focus on the overall layout of the floor plan. So section mark has to be thin line. Okay, so another good example will be allocated on page number 6 on our PDF file. So what you can do is looking at all of these, drawing a section like these, and then start to analyze which part is medium, which part is thin, and which part is the thickest. Okay, it comes to the one of the most important and one of the most complicated part will be called a title box. Okay, so every part of the drawings, you need a title box to indicate the informations on your drawings. We understand that on the drawing itself, it have the layout of the house, the material of the house, but the further information that you have to convey is with these drawings, who are you submitting it for? Is it for the builders? Is it for the your clients, or is it for the council? And it also have a tendering stage as well. Tendering stage mean, you know, when you first submit, and here you need to revise. And so the first day when you submit to the council, they said you have to revise right here, right here, right here. So what it called, and what they term is called tendering stage. For example, tendering stage number 1, please go to this page, looking at that revisions, and can you please fix it? Because for example, the width of the door does not suffice with the regulations of building permits, or some part of the wall are not clarified just yet, so you have to revise the details of it. So all of these information, the side information that is not related to the drawings, the details of the house, but related to the progress of making the house, will be including in the title blocks. Okay, including your name, your firms you're working for, your practicing license, and everything like that. So that, again, title blocks, depending on the documentation you submit to, there are varied title blocks. Okay, so the title blocks that we are looking at in this unit, you only need to include six things. Okay, so let's just say this is your drawings. Okay, and you have the Tezuka house, section A. Okay, so with the title blocks, it can be either on the right or below. So at the moment, put it below for me. So that is very standard. Those who would like to challenge themselves, they can do it on the right, but I would recommend to locate it below. Don't do it on the left or at top, because that is go against the title block regulations. So within the title blocks, what you would do is you divide into different small sections. Okay, so your unit code name, your student name, and then your ID, and then the task, which part is it? Part 1, name, and then what location of what houses. Okay, so again, the title blocks only apply for the Tezuka house with the paper models. I will come back later. Okay, and then submission day, and of course a few more extra detail that you would include. So again, the nature of the title blocks that you submitted to the clients must contain some design elements, not like the one that you're gonna submit it to the builders. So we have a few examples, as you can see here. Okay, so these are pretty full-on details of the title blocks, and this is for professional practices. So you have to include the logo and things like that. That will happen in construction studio. So for this one, keep it simple and keep it design-ish. So if you go online, put in Google and just type in title blocks, figure out a very nice layout for your title block, copy it, and then start to do so in here. Okay, so with the title blocks, it can be digitally done. So I will go to that part in later stage, but keep in mind, all of your drawings, you will need title blocks. Now it comes to a pop-up questions for some of you guys will be, if those who already done the floor plan, you can see here the drawing spread across the whole page. Where will my title block be in the floor plans? So if you've done it right, so I don't have the second part of the Tezuka house, the floor plans. If you've done it right, the floor plan will actually spread across 2 pages of A3. And on the second page of A3, you still have a very small space underneath here. So within that space, you can use the title blocks. Okay, you can use it for the title blocks. So because on the floor plans, okay, on your floor plans of the ground floor and the second floor, you will have 2 pages, 2 A3 pages and taped together. So in that case, there will be 1 title blocks for 2 pieces of drawing for the floor plans. For the sections, as you can see, it have quite a spacious underneath. So what you can do is you can push this section just a little bit above, and then you can put these right here. Okay, at the moment you only need to focusing on the tracing, and then you will head into the editing part using either Photoshop, because you have to scan it on your tracing part back into the computer, and you will begin to editing, including eliminating on the dirty spot using Photoshop and things like that. So when you come into that part, I will re-instruct again on how to do the title block as well, giving you some examples of how the final submission of your portfolio will be. Okay, so just bear with me in terms of the tracing part for the time being, but at the same time, keep yourself reminded of the existence of the title blocks. Okay, so you don't forget about that. All right. So again, another example of the title blocks. And finally will be hatching. So as I've said before, hatching is to indicate the materials, right? So at the moment, when you're cutting through things, including like walls, floor, in your section or your floor plans, for example, right here, do we need to indicate the materials in the Tetsuge house? As I have constantly reminding you, these drawings are submitted to the clients, so you don't really need to professionally done with on the hatching like this. So this is communicate with the builder who also train like us, but structural wise, whether the clients, they are not equipped with all of these understanding. So do I need to include the concrete hatching, which is this one, into the Tetsuge house? You can, but I would not recommend you to do so because that will be quite tiresome. Okay, so what you can remain with the hatching is you can hatch in gray like this using pencil. But again, you can use Photoshop in later stage to make a box and then you can hatch it. However, I would not recommend you to, after, let's just say you've done all the tracing, make sure you have done the light thicknesses before you jump into the tracing, okay? And you can do the pencil first, and then you can reattempt it with Photoshop if it doesn't look good on the computer, okay? So bear in mind that there will be some digital components, so that will be your convenience. I know at some point you might be running out of pencil or charcoal and things like that. So the option of using Photoshop for hatching will be open depending on everyone's circumstance, and we will see how it goes. I will also readjust and as well as instruct you how to do it detailedly in following weeks. At this week, this is our not only mine but also for you guys, our very first week of going online, and we still haven't sure how we go about everything. So let's just see how it goes in the first week, and I will again readjust everything. Okay. So when it comes down to hatching, you can further look in the later page, but basically it just repeated what I have said before, but it will be a very, very good materials. For example, the line use and what will be the symbol and then the line width. I know that you don't have we don't use a lot of break line and dimension line or leader lines. So leader line is sort of like a cone out or things like that, or the border lines, things like that. We don't use a lot in this unit, but for sure we use a lot in Construction Studio. So keep this PDF file and use it as your resources to go about the other unit. And of course with the symbol as well. In here, you only do section AA and then you rename it elsewhere. But in Construction Studio, you will have to make a section mark that have a cone out so you can reference between the drawings. So I won't go into details unless you ask, because that will be pretty overwhelming and it's pretty confusing for most of you guys. So keep this material with you, not only for this unit, but also for Construction Studio in later stage, okay? So that's it for the tutorial. Okay, everyone, so now we're going to the second part of our tutorial. So here I would like to make demonstration of how you will trace your floor plan and section as well as scaling. So basically before, as I have mentioned, so you need to scale up your drawings onto the scale of 1 to 50, either using Photoshop or any other digital software that you have know to how to use, including Revit, AutoCAD, Rhinos. Photoshop is one of the easiest, and basically you must make use of the given scale bar and then scale it up until it hits to the scale 1 to 50s. Ideally, as you see here, this is the floor plans of the ground floor test scale house. And how would you check it to be up to scale? So right here is a scale ruler, and as you can see here, this is 1 to 50, okay, 1 to 50 scale. And as you measure it on your floor plans, you will see it's actually hit somewhere around 15.5, okay? So that is 15 meter in total length, okay? 15.5, 15.7, 0.8. So around there, that will be correct, okay? The acceptable width again to be 15.5 meter to 16.5 meter, okay? So as soon as you have doing so, your next step is to ensure all of the other drawings are matching up with the scale, okay? How would you do so? Pretty simple. Just line up, as I've said before, line it up against each other. And as you can see here, this is the edge of the second level, okay? So this is the second level floor plans. Line it up. So it's a little bit tough, but what you do is you just flip it onto some sort of light above and check if this length is about the same length with that, okay? So as you line it up, so this is only for me to see, but on this part, that's lining up, okay? Now to the second part, it's also line up as well, so that is correct, okay? So you scale this one up first, then use this as a key reference, and then you will do the same with the section as well. Section AA, so the width has to be the same with the wall. The external, two external are also lined up as well, okay? Similar to section BB, okay, also line up. Section CC is a bit tricky, so that goes into the other way because CC is cutting through this way, and so the width of that is actually looking at that area, okay? So measure that against that, okay? So that also line up. The reason why you have to use the line up method is because all of these drawings has to be consistent in terms of the width, the length, and the width as well, okay? And you can also check that with the height between the sections. So ideally, the same height, they should be on the same height. So that including the foundations, and that should be about the same, okay? In the case where several floor plans will not be lined up, for example, this part might be a little bit wider because of the printing reason. I don't want to risking you guys going out there and reprint again. What you do is you can make the arrangement, you can make the alternation on your own by, when you draw it, just extend, before you trace it, extend it, okay? Don't trace the edge here. Let's just say that this is supposed to be a little bit longer here to line up with that. So extend that right here, okay? So increase the thickness of the wall by yourself to make sure on the dimensions are aligned. Okay, this including the section as well. I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of questions, mistakes, as well as errors along the way, but as soon as you produce the drawings, that would be great. Okay, and then you can show me via our group chat, and then I can proceed to fixing up your drawings. Now, to setting up the tracing, this is a T-square. Excuse me. So this is T-square, and what you need to do is you need an edge table, okay, a rectangular table, which I have right here. So I'm lining up the T-square, the T-bar, T-square right here. First, I have to align straight. I have to align the drawing straightly, okay? So like that. Sorry, my lamp blocked it. My lamp blocked the T-square, the movement of the T-square, so I will use the top, okay? So that edge right here, perfectly aligned, okay? So that is done. Now, we also need to see if this line is also perfectly aligned. So it's a little bit offset right here. So you have to make some angle, just readjust into angle. And after you're happy with that, after you have perpendicularly set up your drawings, this is a masking tape, okay? It's pretty sticky, so to avoid damaging your paper, tap it on yourself multiple times, and then begin to tape the drawings onto the surface. Those who actually have the drawing board, just stick it in inside the drawing board and begin to tracing. Okay, so you have the clip on the drawing board to hold up your drawings. But again, you have to make sure everything is aligned, so your tracing is perfect. Right, so with that, it's done. Now we're gonna need the tracing paper. Sorry, as I've instructed before, you need tracing paper. So the tracing paper that you are required to purchase is the 70 GSM. Okay, tracing paper 70. Anything thicker than that, it will block you from seeing all the details. Okay, so that I align the tracing paper on top. Tape it. And then we tape it onto the other side. Note in mind that you don't tape the underneath, because from time to time, after you trace everything, a lot of information will accumulate along your tracing progress, and that certainly will overlap. So you need to see which part you already traced, which part you hidden, and that's why you only need to tape the top. So after you've done the tracing, put in a white paper to see which part have you already done, because I'm pretty sure that you don't trace everything in one hit, but you do it multiple times. So doing so will help you to check through which part you have traced. So with this part is already done, next is we begin to trace. Okay, so as I've instructed before, everything on the drawings here has to be the level as presented in these drawings, including the line has to be straight, no line are curved, and all the details, including all the details in here, kitchen stove and everything has to be very, very straight. No hand draw. So for those little details, you can use a smaller ruler. You don't need to use the scale bar right here. So the scale bar, okay, what it helps is it helps to slide along the way. Okay, now we begin to trace. So with the tracing, you start off with pencil. Don't do fine liner yet. Okay, start with it. So we trace along the edge, just like that. You will also see that there are a couple of details that seems to be duplicated or pixelated. So how would you go about that is entirely up to you. How would you solve those solutions, okay? And then if you're stuck on that, proceed to the other part where you have more confidence in making so. Then come back to me on the group discussions, and then we're gonna go about the answer for your issues. All right. So that's it for our tracing. So that part over here. Not only you can use the top part of the tracing of the T-square, but also the bottom part as well. Okay. Again, avoid freehand drawings at all time and rely solely on the T-square. So with that part, we done a proportions, a small proportion, the cabins right here. And you can see that the distribution of the line is quite unequal. So that line is pretty thin. That one is pretty dark because I pressed the pencil differently. I'm standing up so then I can see what's happening on the screen to make sure that nothing going out of our frames. So that's why. So after you've done everything, okay, the following part will be tracing on top with the fine liners. So with the fine liners, it's go back to the thickness of the line. Okay, pretty straightforward. Proceed with the pencil first. Let me see the outcome, and then if I say, wow, that's really good, then you proceed next to the fine liners. Okay. Same goes with on the sections. So first line that up, and that's it. With the section mark, you're gonna do it digitally using Photoshop along with the title blocks underneath. Okay, so don't put in any annotations, including the numberings. Don't do that just yet, because again, we can do it either using Photoshop, Microsoft Word for the layout purposes later on, not now. So make sure you get on the details on the line straight, perfectly straight. That's what I meant. So none of the line is actually making a mistake, including several of those going out and things like that. So erase those. That's why this is very important. Okay, so you can make mistake without damaging the whole paper. You don't have to go again. After you tracing with the pencil, what you can do is make a copies. If you can, go out to office work at a very less crowded times, and then copy a few, and then you can start with the fine liner on top of that copy, so you can spare this as your backup plan. Okay, similar, if you have any scanner at home for the copy machine at home, please do so to avoid going out. Okay, when you apply the tracing, remember all of these also have to include it as well on the dotted line, indicating the tiles, the break line, the symbol, including everything, but not the numbers of the rooms and the section mark just yet. Okay, but bear in mind, you have to readjust the location of all the section mark, include the details of the columns on the floor plans, as well as update the column onto section AA. Just do it and we will see how it goes. Okay. And of course it comes next with the drawings of the elevation. So elevation is not compulsory in the submission of the Tezuka house part, but it will be an additional. However, only attempt to draw the elevations after you have correctly done and beautifully done, accurately done the floor plan and the section of the Tezuka house. With the elevations, it requires some thinking, because those who understand the conventions of the floor plan, which will be demonstrated via the accuracy and the amount of and the accuracy of their drawings, that will be the main target of the part. Okay, so with the elevations, have a look at the image. the exterior photographs of the Tetsuke house. Okay, so just go to Google and type in Tetsuke house. You will see numbers of the drawings. So to get the width of the elevations, you will need the sections. Okay, that part you have to know where is it belong to, which sections is this part, which section will best to convey the width of that for those right here, of that elevations right here. Then again, put that back into the drawings. With the elevation, there are no drawings, so basically you have to draw it based on the knowledge of the floor plan, the sections, AA, BB, and CC. Okay, so it's based on those knowledge as well as the images that you can see or collected from Google. Okay, but only attempt the elevations after you have done the floor plan and the section correctly and beautifully. Okay, and it comes next to the final task, that is our paper models. Okay, so I hope that you have been making some paper models for part for task 1A, so they generate models. So make sure to bring all the models on the sketch along with yourself during the online group chat, which will be happening on Wednesday. Okay, and with the following model making task 1B, so that will be with the rectangular volumes. You have to use a very hard paper. You can use cloth paper as well, as long as it is hard and it stand up. So the type of material will allow you to be more creative of approaching making your models, but again, do not be limited by the term itself, rectangulars. Okay, so you can start off as a rectangular, but later on you can module it into different sort of style. Okay, so the rectangular box doesn't have to be one single box, but think of it as little box, and then you stacking, you slotting it, and then you just merging it together to intriguing a very good sense of space. Again, look inside. Okay, so look inside your models. Okay, so I will make a few setup right now, so then we can I can show you how to photograph your models. Okay, so within this part, I will show you how to make a photo as well as set up your photographing space. So at the moment, I don't have a lot of equipment at home to set it up, and as well as I'm recording at daytime as well. So you can see that there is a lot of sunlight come from that area. So just make sure one thing, when you photograph the videos, the models, just make sure that it within the dark environments, and then you have a flashlight as I have demonstrated before. Okay, so let's just say this is a models of yours. What I would use to make a white boxes is a white surface. Okay, so a card box, A2 white surface. I don't have the A2 on the backdrop, so I only use the back of my laptop, and then just a piece of white paper. So this is very rough, so try to get the A2 board for the base and for the back wall as well. Okay, and then a light sources, desk lamp or anything. Okay, anything that you can attempt to explore the dark, the shadows, the shadings of your models. So let's just say this is a model. Okay, so you can begin to take pictures. All right, so one from above. Don't do like directly above like that. We don't need the floor plan of your models. We are exploring the shading, so put it on an angle like that. Okay, and then one perhaps from here, and one perhaps higher up and very far away. So the recorder cannot cover the range, but basically it's a bit further out. Okay, then secondly, that will be a zooming in. So what you need to do is just to move the models out to the edge of the box and then zoom the camera as close as possible inside, okay, as well as one that below, just like the zooming in to show the interior but further out, so you have different sort of like perspective and views toward your models. Each model and each style of the models from each student are varied, so try to explore different angles that could intrigue a sense of space. Okay, so again, the models do not make objects, do not make a vivid structure, do not make a sculpture, make a space. Okay, and again, on the models, refrain within 2 modeling making techniques. Only 2 are to be chosen from: cutting, slotting, gluing, taping, folding, curving, and things like that. So, but then again, there are crossover, as I have mentioned before, and how you cross over those is entirely up to you. But make sure photographs, sketch, and make the models, and be ready for the online consultations on the Wednesdays. Okay, here are some of the examples that I have taken so far. Okay, so when you're taking the photos, make sure that there are no background like that. Okay, this is a closer up. Okay, so again, no background, but ideally it should be as close as these. And then this one is a close-up. After you take the photos, you can crop it. Okay, you can always crop it to make it more dynamic and change it. Okay, so the model should explore the inside. I know this is a very shit model. Like I said, this is just a mock-up one for the sake of demonstrating taking photograph. Okay, that will be that for our tutorials. So again, I would like to remind you to add me on Skype as soon as possible. Every week, what we will do under the format will be, I will send you the recordings of the tutorial with demonstration before our group chat commence on Wednesday. And then on the group chat commencing day, what you will do is talk with me, walk with me throughout on the works that you have done so far, and just give me all the question, but keep it brief because we only have 15 minutes for each group. Okay, so the group you have been assigned to, just utilize them as your peers, your friends that we're working among with you right now. After that, you will have the Thursday until the Friday morning and afternoon to stand through all the questions. So then I will answer them in one big email and will resend to you on Monday. On Tuesday, tutorial, watch it before Wednesday. Okay, keep posted with my email sending to you guys, as well as the announcement on Canvas, either from me or the unit convener. There are a lot for you to take from each email. There will be a lot of information. Each unit go by themselves. So print out the emails of each of the unit, highlight the instruction that what you have to do, put it on the wall, stick it on the wall, and looking at what are the requirements before you coming into the online learning platform of that unit. So with this one, again, Tuesday, I will send the recording tutorial like this to you, and then watch it before commencing the group chat on Wednesday. Each of you guys will be assigned by a group chat. I will send in later email. Okay, so be on time for me, please. During the group chat, talk about your issue, show me your work, talk about your ideas for the model making and things like that. Then on starting from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, any email to me, and then I'll combine all of those in one big email and reply to all of you. Okay, any individual emails I might not be able to answer, or I won't answer if there are duplication between emails, depending on the emergency of each email. I also have other commitment to do, so I will not station in front of my laptop the whole time. So I am solely relying on your self-study as well as working among you with your peers. Okay, so this is the conclusion of our tutorial. Good luck with everything, and stay safe, stay hygienic, and I'll see you guys on the group chat on Wednesday. Okay, remember, add me on Skype as soon as possible under the format that I have instructed you in the previous email that I sent to you from last week. Okay, good luck and thanks.